What would happen if you stopped using your phone for 30 days? It sounds simple, but it's not. In this video, we follow one person who tried it, and what happened to him might surprise you. Let's be honest with each other for a second. Most of us wake up, and the very first thing we do, before we even pray, is grab the phone. We scroll through notifications, check messages we got while we were sleeping, maybe open WhatsApp or TikTok just to see what's going on. And before we know it, 45 minutes have disappeared. Just like that, gone. And we haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Marcus was living exactly that life. He worked a regular job, came home tired, and instead of resting, he'd spend hours on his phone, switching between apps, watching videos that didn't really mean anything to him, comparing his life to strangers online, and going to bed at 1 a.m. with his eyes burning and his brain completely exhausted. He wasn't even really choosing or enjoying it. It was just happening automatically, like a reflex. And deep down, he knew something was off. He just didn't know how bad it had gotten. So, he made one decision. He went silent for 30 days. The first week was genuinely uncomfortable. Marcus said the first 3 days felt like he had lost something. Not like losing a bad habit, more like losing a friend. He'd reach for his phone out of pure muscle memory. While waiting for food to heat up, reach for the phone. Waking up in the middle of the night, reach for the phone. The urge was constant, almost itchy, and the silence was loud. When there's no scroll to run to, you're suddenly left alone with your own thoughts. And for a lot of people, that's actually terrifying. Not because the thoughts are dangerous, but because we're just not used to sitting with them anymore. We've trained our brains to always have something coming in, a notification, a video. When all of that stops, the brain kind of panics. Marcus said he felt restless, a little anxious, and honestly a bit bored in a way he hadn't felt since he was a kid. But here's what's interesting. By day 6 or 7, something started to shift. The boredom didn't go away, but it changed. It started feeling less like emptiness and more like space. By the second week, Marcus started noticing things he hadn't noticed in years. Little things. He noticed how his coffee actually tasted in the morning when he wasn't staring at a screen. He started finishing books he'd had on his shelf collecting dust. He went for walks, not for exercise, nor any other thing, just to walk. And he said those walks felt more peaceful than anything he'd experienced in a long time. His sleep changed dramatically. Without blue light flooding his brain at midnight, he started falling asleep earlier without even trying. And the quality of that sleep was different. He woke up without an alarm some mornings. He woke up without that slightly moody, heavy feeling that so many of us just accept as normal. His mornings started feeling like they actually belonged to him, instead of immediately belonging to whoever had posted something online overnight. And then something really interesting happened. His attention span started coming back. He could sit with a strenuous task and actually focus on it. He started having longer, more meaningful conversations with people. Not because he became some kind of deep philosopher, but simply because he wasn't half distracted the whole time. He was actually present. By weeks 3 and 4, the changes went deeper. This is where it gets really interesting. Marcus said he started to notice how much of his daily mood had been driven by things he saw on his phone. Someone posting a vacation he couldn't afford. A comment thread that made him angry before breakfast. He hadn't realized that his emotional temperature every single day was being set by other people's content, and he had zero control over what that content was doing to him. Without that constant input, he started connecting more with what he actually thought and felt, not what the algorithm decided he should feel, his own genuine, original thoughts. He started journaling, something he had tried before and quit, but this time it stuck because his mind was actually quieter and there was room for reflection. He reconnected with an old hobby he'd abandoned years ago. He called family members he'd been meaning to call for months. He read more. He had more ideas at work. Now here's the most important thing Marcus noticed, and this is the one that really hits hard. He realized that without his phone, he had way more time than he ever thought he had. The excuse of, "I'm too busy," the one he'd used for years to explain why he wasn't exercising, learning new things, or spending time on things that mattered. That excuse completely fell apart. He was never too busy. He was just distracted. There's a massive difference between those two things, and most of us haven't stopped long enough to see it. After the 30 days, Marcus picked his phone back up, but he wasn't the same person who had put it down. He said it felt strange, almost like meeting an old acquaintance you'd outgrown. The apps were still there, but his relationship with them had completely changed. He deleted the apps that had been eating the most time. He set a rule: no phone for the first hour of the morning, and no phone after 9 p.m. Not because someone told him to, but because he had experienced what life felt like without the constant noise, and he genuinely liked it better. He didn't become anti-technology, he just became intentional. He started using his phone instead of being used by it, and that one shift changed almost everything. Here's the truth: you probably don't need to do 30 days. But what Marcus's story is really telling us is that we've quietly handed over enormous amounts of our time, attention, and mood to a small, glowing screen, and most of us have never even questioned it. So maybe the question isn't, could I live without my phone? The better question is, what would my life look like if I was the one in charge of my attention? Because your attention is your life. Where it goes every single day is where your life goes. And you get to decide that. Start right now, today. The next time you reach for your phone out of habit, ask yourself, do I actually want to be here right now, or is this just automatic? Try that now, and I'll meet you in the next one.